almost about that time. Right about now.
Right about now. Funk, bunk, 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 soul, brother.
Dave Asprey, welcome to the Right About Now podcast.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It is so nice to have you. I am big fan of Bulletproof coffee, so kudos to that. Thank you for that.
You're so welcome. It was my pleasure to make something that woke my brain up the right way.
Yeah, and those bars are really good too. I picked up one of those bars the other day, and they're very good. So you're making some good products, and I was very excited to talk to you. I've always been curious, and I've heard you on other podcasts interviewed, and you're always such an interesting interview. So I'm glad you have this book and we can talk.
You're very welcome. I just love sharing about this stuff. This is, what I do for fun, and it turned into my career. I was an overweight computer hacker for a lot of my life. So who would ever thought I'd be doing this?
Yeah. I mean, I want to get into your backstory because it really is fascinating. First of all, I think it might be interesting or probably informative for my listeners to even understand what a biohacker is. Because I think when I'll say, I'm interviewing Dave Asprey, this biohacker, like very famous biohacker, they'll say, what is a biohacker? Even my kids didn't know what that is. So can you explain what is a biohacker?
Sure. So biohacking is a new word added to the English language in 2018, and my name's in the dictionary for it.
Oh, cool.
And it is the art and science of changing the environment around you and inside of you so that you have full control of your own biology. It's about actively making your body do what you want and having the energy you want, or look the way you want, or feel the way you want. And it's recognizing that your body listens to the world around you more than it listens to you, but that you can control the world around you. So this is actively like a computer hacker. That's my background. We are taking control of our system so that we control our own destiny.
Interesting. And let's talk about how this journey began. So you definitely did not start your career as a biohacker. This is something you came into. So who were you before you were?
I was a computer hacker. I was a 300-pound computer hacker.
Wow.
So I just got really tired. I had arthritis diagnosed when I was 14 in my knees. By the time before I was 30, they said high risk of stroke and heart attack, chronic fatigue syndrome, crippling brain fog. I'd been on antibiotics almost every month for 15 years. Gut was wrecked. And I was just profoundly unhealthy. And I kept doing what was supposed to work. I went to the gym when I weighed 300 pounds for 702 hours. I did 90 minutes a day, 6 days a week, no matter what, for 18 months. And at the end of all of that, I'm on a low fat, low calorie diet. I still had a 46-inch waist. And I still weighed 300 pounds, and I was strong, but I was still fat. And I just thought, it must be a moral failing. Maybe I'm eating too much lettuce because that's all that's left. And I just realized I've got to quit doing what's supposed to work, because it was just one day I woke up. It wasn't a lack of effort. It wasn't a moral thing. It was just, look, I can control systems. You measure what you do to them, and you measure what they do in response, and then you keep manipulating it. Why don't we just do that here? So I started measuring what worked and only doing that. And I just made a commitment that even if I couldn't understand why it might work, if there was some chance it might work, I was willing to give it a try, because I had nothing left to lose.
Yeah.
And that's what led me to be my own guinea pig. And that's why I became a leader in the anti-aging field. At a young age, I was running an anti-aging nonprofit group in Palo Alto, where my board members were 3 times my age and teaching me everything. And that's what led me to Nepal and Tibet and the Andes to learn meditation from different lineages from the masters, because I'm just not going to judge. If there's a meaningful number of people who seem to be getting results, I'm not going to allow my bias to keep me from just being curious. And it's worked remarkably well, because I'm 8% body fat. I work out 15 minutes a week if I'm lucky. And yes, I consider that a virtue, in that my workouts were better than your workouts. If you like to suffer every day and sweat all over yourself and then take pictures for Instagram to show that you're a good person because you've suffered, I have much higher level suffering to do. So
yeah. Well, I'm happy that you suffered for me, because at first to figure this out, because I do suffer, and I'm not, at least not yet, 300 pounds, but I'm at that stage in my life where I can't seem to really put off the weight. I do exercise 2 or 3 times a week. I even have a trainer that comes over to our house and works out with me and my son. It's a very LA thing. And this idea, and I try, and I know I'm not a stupid eater. I don't eat Twinkies. I don't, I try to stay away from carbs and sugar and things that I know make me fat. And yet this belly just gets bigger and bigger. I was skiing the other day, and I, put on the ski pants that I hadn't put on in 6 years, and they, the button kept coming undone, and I'm falling down to my waist while I'm skiing, and I'm like, this is pathetic. I need to pull this together. So the fact that your book arrived in the mail kind of made me excited, and I think what I was the most excited about was that it's called Smarter Not Harder, so that you don't have to put as much work into losing weight, feeling good, as you probably think or are led to believe. Let's first start with a kind of a radical concept that you have, maybe not so radical, certainly radical to me, and this idea that we're all kind of inherently lazy, this laziness the laziness principle. That's very, or that your body is inherently like your body. I think you said something like your body would like the cells in your body would rather hang out in the basement playing video games than actually getting up and doing a Peloton 45-minute HIIT workout. So tell me a little bit about that, because I found that very interesting.
Hopefully you're editing, because
I'm definitely editing. It's not
cedar
live.
Time.
We're all good.
It's cedar time in Austin.
Oh, is that allergies?
Yeah, I definitely have some allergies. I haven't hacked yet, but they're better than they used to be.
Yeah.
All right. So
laziness. We're talking about the laziness principle.
What would you think, Jonathan, if I said that you had a operating system for the meat in your body, your meat operating system? Does that sound crazy, or does it sound like it might exist?
The meat in my system has an operating system. It sounds like since we are kind of computers in a lot of ways, it sounds like maybe it could be something that you might be able to convince me is true. So come on. So convince me, Dave.
There's something, actually I'll do the one with a caffeine tattoo on it. There's something in here when I say flex my muscle, there's something that tells like this fiber right here to do something.
Right. You're pointing
versus
to your bicep.
This other thing.
Yeah.
Right. And there's something that tells me to breathe when I'm not paying attention. And there's all these things that your body does, and it notices things in the world around you, like something moves and then you look over at it. You don't decide any of those things. They're handed to you. And in Smarter Not Harder, I talk about the evidence for this, because if such a system exists, and it absolutely does, then that's what we're hacking. If you have an average response time brain for someone who's over 30, it takes about 1/3 of a second between when I snap my fingers and when the electricity hits your brain from it. And that's not because the speed of sound is so slow. It's because even when the sound is at your body, 1/3 of a second before the brain is allowed to hear the sound. Meanwhile, this amazing operating system in your body is deciding whether it's even worth showing you the sound. And it's totally deciding this of its own accord, and it's not you. And the reason I know that is because 18-year-olds have a 1/4 second delay on reality. And as we age, it gets slower and slower. It's one of the measures of brain aging. So I still have the 250 millisecond response time of an 18-year-old in my brain, because my brain is upgraded with all the stuff I've done for the last 20 years. But if we were to measure a typical 35 or 40-year-old, it gets a little bit slower with each decade.
Yeah, if I have slow responses to your utterances, it's just because I've got a pretty old brain that hasn't been upgraded in a while. I'm working on an OS 8 right now, I think.
It turns out you don't see the response, and neither do I. No one can. It's hidden from you entirely. So when I move my mouth, you're seeing it 1/3 of a second after I moved it. Now, your body saw it earlier, but your mind couldn't. But our minds edit that out of reality. Another thing, in the middle of each of your fields of vision, there's a dime-sized blind spot right in the center. Do you see that?
No. I mean, now I do. Yeah.
Well, no, you can't see it unless you have like a special chart, right? Who's editing that out of your reality? Because it's there.
Right.
So you have to accept that there's something in there that's changing your experience of reality based on its goals, not your goals. That part of your body has evolved for 2 billion years to keep all life on Earth alive. And it runs very basic things because it's run by bacteria. And it's basically run away from, kill, or hide from scary things. Eat everything and don't waste any energy while you're at it because a famine might be coming. And have sex with everything else because we must reproduce the species. These are the things that must happen. All of those urges happen before your brain gets a signal. And then you feel the urge to eat all the pizza, the urge to lay on the couch, the urge to have sex, even if it's maybe someone you maybe ought not to be doing that with, or the urge to turn away from something because it might be scary, even if it's just public speaking or whatever is scary, right? All of those are not you. They're a much faster and much dumber system in your body. And they do all that stuff, then they give you a feeling about it, and you make up a story about the feeling. And when you look at the couch, your meat operating system says, God damn, that couch is sexy. You know, if you just lay down on that couch, imagine how good it would feel. And it seduces your conscious brain to decide to go to the couch. But what really happened is it decided to go to the couch, and it convinced you to come along. And sometimes it'll try to convince you, and you're like, I have willpower, I have electricity in my brain, I am going to overcome this urge, and I'm going to use my conscious desire to go to the gym or to do something hard. And then we say, yay, I have willpower, I am immoral, I am a good person. But then most of us actually feel a little bit of guilt or shame because why did I want to lay on the couch? Why am I so lazy? Why do I keep wanting to do lazy things? Newsflash, it's not you. It's your body wanting to do those things. And that's one of the big principles in Smarter Not Harder, which is a brand new book. It's got stuff that has never been written. I don't write books that contain things that you're going to find somewhere else because that's boring. So right. It has to be new or I can't get motivated. And this laziness principle is that, okay, your body's doing that and your body's motivated by that. So if your body thinks the couch looks really good, what would your body say if I said, hey, I can do 6 times better results for cardiovascular exercise if you'll just give me 5 minutes 3 times a week, no sweating required? Or you could do an hour a day of spin classes 5 days a week and just get 1/6 of the results. Your meat operating system, the lazy part of you, is going to be like, okay, I had 2 options. I could slog it out with someone yelling at me in spandex, or I could do this tiny little thing that gets me massive returns. And the lazy part of you will be highly motivated to do it. But the lazy part of you will never be motivated to go do hard, intense exercise for long periods of time because it's unnatural. So forcing yourself to do unnatural things, we're capable of that. Forcing yourself to want to do unnatural things requires massive amounts of self-deception. It's just electrically expensive. So I'm just going to tell you, convince yourself to go do what I talk about in Smarter Not Harder because it's so much better than anything else. And that's using laziness to motivate you instead of feeling guilty about it.
Right. I guess some people work out and do all that stuff because they get that runner's high. They get that, at least they think they do.
They do. It's provable. As a matter of fact, there are people who are addicted to that. They usually end up wearing themselves out over time, like hip replacements and all. But I would just say that if opiates are your thing, and those are opiates from over-exercising, and they're stress hormones, so you get cortisol, adrenaline, and then the endorphin rush, you could probably just do a little bit of pharmaceutical grade heroin because it's the same receptors. And it turns out pharmaceutical grade heroin is an anti-aging substance at low doses over time. People have access to that. There was a case in Sweden where some of the elite in the city did have access to it. You age less quickly. You could also use naltrexone, which is something that latches in. People, in fact, I might have even mentioned it in Smarter Not Harder. I know it was in my previous book. This is an anti-aging substance that sticks to your opiate receptors. But if you're telling me I have to work out because I'm so stressed, I'm so addicted that I have to get my exercise fix, dude, you're an addict. It's okay. Just admit it. Like go to a 12-step program.
Right.
There are people who are addicted to exercise because they're not facing their feelings. And if you're one of those, like face your feelings. It's less work.
So I like this. So it's not, so in your mind, it's not lack of willpower. It is your body. Don't feel guilty. It's not that you're weak and that you need to get off the couch because you're a weak person. And that's not really what's going on.
It's that the body believes it's in charge and it does influence your reality. Willpower is choosing to consciously do something other than what your body wants you to do. Right. And
Right.
willpower, and I've written a lot about willpower throughout this series of my books. It comes from electricity. I even found studies that show willpower is tied to the function of your mitochondria, the things that make electricity and neurotransmitters and hormones in your body. Your mitochondria do all of that. So what that means is that if you're feeling low on willpower, maybe you're just low on energy. And the reason I felt called to write Smarter, Not Harder is that 8 years ago, I opened the world's first biohacking lab underneath Arnold Schwarzenegger's office in Santa Monica, California. And I wanted
that's a
all
whole
of
podcast
this,
unto itself. But anyway,
yeah, all of this tech that I used to restore my health, my biology, and then to go to levels I didn't think were possible. I wanted to take this $1 million worth of equipment and put it in the world for people to use. And this started an industry, and now there's a bunch of mom and pops. And if you have a place with cold plunges and red light therapy, like I was kind of the grandfather of that idea. They probably all came and looked at what I was doing there. Today, Upgrade Labs is franchising, and we're opening dozens of them across the country right now. You can go to ownandupgradelabs.com and you can actually open a facility that does all the stuff I'm going to share here. But in the course of 8 years of doing this, I learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work. And it turns out just having some red lights and some cold maybe isn't going to do what you think it's going to do. What I did find, though, is that when someone walked in the door, whether it was a celebrity or an athlete or just someone nearby who wanted to see what this biohacking thing was all about, they all say, I want to be healthy. Okay, Jonathan, you want to be healthy, right?
I do want to be healthy. There's no question about that.
When you woke up this morning, what was the first thing you wanted?
Probably a cup of coffee with my monk fruit sugar, which I don't know if that's okay. With
right.
you,
So
we'll talk about that in a second.
It sounds to me like you want your energy more than you want your health.
Yeah, I just want to get out of bed and feel good, right? I mean,
okay,
yeah.
That's a different thing than health, it turns out. Just everyone wants different things from health. So there's 5 things that I found after this 8 years and thousands of clients coming through to understand what's in Smarter, Not Harder. So this isn't something you just pull out of thin air. It's observation. Here's the 5 things. And I know which one is your top one already because I've been where you are when you're out of energy. So some people say, I want muscle. Like, things are working reasonably well, but my goal is I want to look a certain way, or I want muscle, or I don't want to, fall down and break my hips depending where you are in life. Okay, that's one goal. Another group says, I want my cardiovascular performance to go up. I get tired going up the stairs. I want to play with my kids, whatever it is. I don't like that being out of breath. Or it could be that I want to run a marathon for whatever reason. Like, your goals are your goals. They're not the same as everyone else's. Then there's a group of people who say, I want my brain to work better. Like I'm recognizing that I'm forgetting words, or I just can't pay attention. I want to fix that. And then there are people who say, I want to manage stress better than I normally do. I want to be more resilient. And then finally, after that, we have people say, I want to get my energy back. And those are always the people who say, and I want to lose weight. Because the techniques of losing weight are the techniques of getting your energy back. So of those things in Smarter Not Harder, I have a chapter for each one of those. Because if you know your goal for health, then something magic happens. You can start choosing a technique that works better than the 2 things or maybe 3 things we've had throughout history. The 3 things we've had throughout history are, number 1, pick up rocks. Okay, our big innovation there, we concentrate them into metal plates and then we pick them up.
Right.
Okay, that's amazing. A lot's gone on there. And then run away from tigers. And it turns out tigers are hard to do that with. So now you can stand in place on a treadmill or an exercise bike and run away from tigers. Okay. And then the third one is maybe you could eat less, or maybe change what you eat. Right. So that's all of health. And right now we've put a lot of energy, and I certainly have, into nutrition. This is not a nutrition book. There's 2 chapters that talk about things people don't know that are holding them back on their other biohacks. But this is a book that says, if you only had 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour one day or 3 days a week, how do you allocate what you do during that time so that you always win, so that you get the most possible benefits in the least amount of time? what I think is most of us say, well, I know I should be exercising like or meditating or doing something good at least 5 hours a week, but most of us don't because our meat operating system is like, yeah, but it's a lot of work. Well, okay. Let's assume that you can carve out 1 hour once a week. What are you going to do? What's going to matter most to you?
Right.
It's not the same as everyone else. And then what's the technique that just gives you so much benefit that you're actually okay? So maybe you didn't need 5 hours. 5 hours would have been great because if you give me an hour a day, it's probably more than I even need. But we could do at an Upgrade Labs, we could do neurofeedback. We'll train your brain extensively. We'll give you your energy back, and like you will transform rapidly. But most people aren't going to give it an hour a day. Most of us are going to do a half hour twice a week, and that's all we've got because we have families and kids and commutes and companies and communities and all the stuff that we do. Something like 92% of people don't exercise as much as the government says, and the government doesn't know anything about health. In fact, they're actively working to stop you from being healthy right now. So you can't listen to them anyway. But check this out. $400 million a year goes into ghost gym memberships. So much people spend on memberships they never have used.
Right. Or they buy Pelotons and they use them for like a month and then they get tired of them. Yeah.
Well, they're good for hanging clothes on.
Right. Yeah. Well, so let's kind of look deeper at some of the changes that we can make that are smarter, not harder. And, you know, the book goes into very great detail, and I won't go into ask you to go into all this detail, but if we can start with food, because this is a tricky thing for most people, because there's so much information, different information. You know, we all kind of know that like the food pyramid is bullshit, but like, you know, but we're trying to figure out, yeah, go ahead.
Let me kind of put the real basics on there for you. So my opus on food is called the Bulletproof Diet. People have lost 2 million pounds on that. So if you're looking for that, even though I'd rather that you pick up Smarter Not Harder, maybe the Bulletproof Diet's the right book for you. It's in soft cover, 16 languages, all that kind of a thing. And it has stood the test of time over the past 10 years, where it predicted a lot of the trends that you're hearing about now, like oxalic acid or lectins and things like that. And basically, you need more protein than you think, but not too much protein. It needs to come from grass-fed animals. Plant protein doesn't work the same as animal protein. And the big food industry has been really actively pulling the wool over our eyes by telling us that it's calories in, calories out. So you can cancel out a Snickers bar with a diet soda as long as then you just hit the treadmill. You know, every potato chip is 5 minutes on the treadmill or some kind of nonsense like that.
Right.
The people online who are promoting that, there's two groups. One is large food companies who basically make money by being able to sell you all calories as if they're the same, even though it's not true. The other ones are just angry influencers who were probably bullied in 5th grade and they're still mad about it. So they go online like shouting down anyone who dares to say that exercising yourself to death on no calories, that isn't the good strategy. Guys, I worked out 702 hours, 90 minutes a day, 6 days a week when I weighed 300 pounds and I still was fat. It does not work. And I did eat the low fat, low calorie nonsense diet. I just don't want anyone else to go through that again. That's one of the reasons I wrote Smarter Not Harder. So what do you need to do? Skipping breakfast some of the time is a good idea. It's called intermittent fasting. My last New York Times bestseller was on all the nuances of that. But what if what you're eating now is introducing a new form of friction into your diet and it's actually making you weaker? A prime example is oatmeal or kale. And oatmeal and nuts and seeds, especially whole grains, you know, the whole things are supposed to be healthy because fiber. Well, what if the fiber was mixed with a whole bunch of toxins? Would you still just focus on the fiber or would you look at the sum of what you're getting? What you're getting with whole grains and especially oatmeal and nuts and seeds is something called phytic acid that most of us haven't heard of. This is a plant compound that sucks minerals from your bones. It pulls away that zinc. We've all heard over the last 3 years that zinc actually does work to make you less likely to go to the hospital for all causes. It also raises testosterone. That's why when you eat the overnight oats that suck zinc right out of your bones and your cells, that's why they're dumb. One of the highest phytic acid foods you're going to find is cornflakes. And do you know the history of cornflakes?
I don't. I'm scared to know.
It's really scary. It's almost traumatizing, but I'm gonna have to tell you anyway.
Okay.
There was I'm going to say this, a mentally unwell religious figure named Mr. Kellogg, or Reverend Kellogg, as he was called in the early 1900s. And he believed that sexual desire was the root of all evil. So if he could only invent a food that would remove sexual desire from people, a low fat, low protein food full of phytic acid that sucks zinc out of your bones, then if you could get people to eat it as a health food, he would solve all of society's ills by removing sexual desire. Yeah, I'm talking about you cornflakes. That is the birth of cornflakes and graham crackers. Reverend Graham was another one. And at the same time, this is the same guy who also made circumcision something that everyone does for cleanliness, because actually the guy was a little bit of a pervert as far as we can tell. That's the history.
This episode brought to you by
food.
Kellogg's. Yeah.
I mean, Kellogg has evolved a long way. I actually know some of the execs at Kellogg because of my work with Bulletproof. And I'm not saying that every Kellogg product is bad. They actually have a bunch of good products now, and they're working towards reducing glyphosate and all kinds of stuff. But I will tell you that a low-fat, low-calorie diet made out of cornflakes high in phytic acid is not good. But by speaking the truth, there's no reason that they couldn't add some enzymes to fix it or something. But right now, this isn't important for society. And to their point, and I've talked to the execs from everyone, not everyone, from many of the big food companies, they want to do better. But they're saying, look, if I do something that adds 10 cents to the box of cereal, my competitors won't do it. And then I just lose all my market share. I go out of business. So what I want to do is I want everyone listening to understand why, when you don't do these steps right, it makes you weak. And then if there's no market size for food that sucks your testosterone because it destroys your zinc, maybe we shouldn't do that anymore. So in Smarter Not Harder, I talk about foods that contain too much compound that sucks minerals out of your tissues. And I just went through the main list of them. I also talk about kale and raw spinach and even beets, which do it via another pathway that contributes to gout and kidney stones and joint inflammation. So kale salads and kale smoothies are actually not good for you. I was a raw vegan, by the way, for a long time, and it took me a couple of years to recover from it. So what's left is there's two supplements that you really, really need to take. One of them is called a multi-mineral supplement. It is so not sexy and cool. I formulate nootropics and smart drugs and testosterone enhancers, libido enhancers. I love all the herbal stuff. This isn't that. I mentioned some of the other supplements in the book if you want a specific outcome, but this isn't a book on supplements. There's only two supplements that I'm talking about. One is minerals. You can buy a mineral supplement from almost anyone. They're not terribly expensive. It should be at least 3 pills per day to fit everything that you need. If you just do that, you'll be ahead of almost everyone else, because now all the different systems in your body have the raw materials to actually do what you're supposed to do.
So look for a multi-mineral supplement, even like at Whole Foods or
a good quality one. And then which goes along with those minerals is you've got to get your trace minerals. These won't be in a multi-mineral supplement. Those are going to be zinc and calcium and magnesium and things like that. The trace minerals are very, very low levels of minerals that are found in very rich soil, even the soil in places where people live the longest. So to do that, my preferred way is Danger Coffee, which is my newest coffee company. And this is mold-free coffee that is enriched with large amounts of ionic minerals from plants. So when you drink the coffee, you're getting the minerals that you're supposed to be getting. That is the minerals that are missing from our food supply. You can also get trace mineral supplements all over the place, but I like to do it in the coffee for another set of reasons. So Danger Coffee is an option there, but now you've got your minerals. All of a sudden you have more power. Your exercise will work better. Your sleep will work better. Your thinking will work better because you've got the substrate. But to get those minerals where they go, the next vitamin is called vitamin DAKE, D-A-K-E. And this is something that I'm starting to manufacture for Upgrade Labs, which is the company that kind of gave me the information about what people are looking for the book. And vitamin DAKE is D-A-K-E. These are fat-soluble vitamins that come from animals, not plants. Plants don't make those. And when you get those tell the minerals where to go in the body and stay there. So the combination of minerals and vitamin DAKE equals, oh my God, my mitochondria can make energy. My whatever parts can make whatever sex hormones I need. My serotonin levels are where they need to be. My melatonin levels. All of a sudden, everything starts working in a way that it didn't work before. And if you do all the expensive supplements, you do all the cool biohacks, and you've got your true light, red light therapy, and you're doing cryotherapy, and you're going to the gym, but you don't have minerals.
It doesn't matter.
It's like it's such a cheap and simple fix that I think we underestimate that. And I almost didn't want to write about it because it's so uncool. Like
Right.
minerals, like was that like your grandmother? But yeah, you got to have these. So the whole mindset for Smarter Not Harder. By the way, it looks like this:
Yep, there it is.
Biohacker's Guide to Getting the Body and Mind You Want.
I've got one too.
Nice. Oh, good. You get it. So it's just about valuing your time and your energy. And if you're going to spend 30 minutes in a normal gym or maybe 5 minutes at an Upgrade Labs, I'd rather you do it with your minerals in place, even if it's not fun to write about them. So I basically told you what to do with the book.
Yeah, the vitamins D, A, K, E, can again a multivitamin could maybe have, or should you independently take? And I know
you won't find those in a multivitamin.
Okay,
not at levels. Vitamin K2 is relatively expensive. So vitamin D is something that if you go to Upgrade Labs, it either will be on the website shortly. We have all the formulas that are there. You can find it in the book. I tell you what to do. You're probably going to have to take. A lot of companies followed what I did 10 years ago. They started putting D and K2 together, but vitamin A was missing and vitamin E was missing. So by putting all of this together, you get something unique and special.
Can we talk about some of the foods that naturally have either these vitamins or that are just vitamins that will make you smarter but not have to eat? Because there's a lot of foods that I know are not so great. You mentioned kale, but I mean, foods that we all know, the foods like the classic foods that are not great. But then when you say things like kale, which everybody thinks is like this great health food thing, including me, nuts, you mentioned, as not maybe being so great. And, of course, like I'm always like, whenever I'm on a diet or trying to lose weight, I'm always eating a lot of nuts. Which is probably not the greatest thing. So I would love to know like a day in the life of Dave's, menu. I mean, I know you have a whole book on this, but like today, what are you going to eat? Like, let's say you're not fasting this morning. What are you? Yeah.
If I wasn't fasting this morning, I would have protein and fat for breakfast. You really don't want carbs in the morning unless you're doing heavy workouts. So a typical example, an omelet is really good. A piece of sausage from grass-fed animals, a piece of meat, a protein shake. That's made from animal protein, like a whey protein. I would even have Danger Coffee, and you can crack 3 or 4 eggs into it while it's blending, and then it just tastes like ice cream. Put some.
So you want to, if you're going to do a shake, you want you want animal protein. You don't want.
It has to be animal protein because plant-based protein doesn't do the same things. It just doesn't absorb well, and it's such a marketing scam. Oh, it's plant-based. No. What the marketing companies did, like, oh my God, we can feed chicken food to people. If we put plant-based on it, they'll pay more for it. This is human kibble. It is not high quality protein. And they're trying to tell you that, oh, protein's all the same. You don't need this animal protein. You actually need crickets or soybeans. I'm sorry, those don't work. And I talk about it in Smarter Not Harder about the biological availability of proteins. So yeah, I am going to do animal-based protein for the majority of what I do. Some of it from dairy. I like sheep's milk better than cow's milk for my own constitution. Some people do okay on cow's milk. Raw A2 cow's milk is best, or at least grass-fed cow milk is required. Most people tolerate butter or ghee really well to get the fats that you need. So for lunch, and I'm probably only going to eat within an 8-hour window. I don't usually eat 12 hours a day. I don't snack usually either, because if you eat right, you don't want to snack. For lunch, I will probably throw probably a pound of ground grass-fed meat on the grill. It costs $7, and that's a pound of
that can be red meat, not chicken, right? Not necessarily chicken.
Not chicken. I don't eat chicken very often at all, because chicken has a higher amount of something called amyloid. It has low quality fats. The amino acid ratios aren't very good. It's usually contaminated with glyphosate unless you get organic chicken. And chickens grow in 6 weeks now. I've run an organic farm for the past 7 years on Vancouver Island, where we have chickens that take 9 months to reach full size. Those are real chickens. A 6-week chicken cannot eat enough to put minerals into it. So you're getting flesh, but there's no nutrition in it because it just grew too fast. So that, plus I look at the deaths per calorie for what I eat. And when I eat grass-fed meat that was grazed, I'm actually killing less animals per calorie than a fake burger, even than a vegan. So I kill less animals by eating meat than vegans do by eating cornflakes. It's super weird, but that's how it works.
How
I'm a
is
farmer.
yeah, explain that to me for real quick. So how does that work?
Well, if you've ever actually been on a farm, especially a big industrial farm, which is where most vegan food comes from, you see these giant tractors coming through, and then there's birds swirling around
Hmm.
to pick up all the dead bunnies and mice and
Aw.
turtles and salamanders that were chopped apart so vegans could pretend that theirs was a bloodless diet. And since tens of thousands of animals die per acre for industrial farming of food that's not even very good food for humans, you have to count those deaths when you
Right.
do it. And farmers will kill anything that eats their plants because that's how you farm. So those avocados that are, cruelty free, dozens of ground squirrels were shot, trapped, or poisoned in order for the orchard to even exist. That's how farming is. And like I said, I was a raw vegan. I don't eat industrial meat because it's wrong to be cruel to animals, but I eat my own animals and I eat grass-fed animals because we can have a respectful relationship with the animals. We nourish them, they nourish us. It's the only way to make soil on the planet stable, to make life work. And if you think you're going to get rid of the animals, you will also destroy the soil. So I'm calling for a reduction of agricultural land and a return to more natural prairies. And to more distributed growth of animals. And you can buy this at a farmer's market. You can buy it online. And like I said, I'm in Austin where things are relatively expensive. It costs about $7 for a pound. If I was to eat industrial meat, which I would do if I was on a very limited budget, I'd be eating grass-fed butter, eggs, and red meat from industrial animals, which is going to cost me about $1 a pound if I can find it on sale in a 10-pound tube. So you can eat the way I'm talking about. And yeah, I eat some veggies too. I just don't eat the exotic kale and all that weird stuff, broccoli, cauliflower, stuff like that. I'll eat salad, but my salad's made with good old fashioned lettuce, the colored lettuce. It's amazing. Celery, carrots, fennel.
What about grains? Any grains in there in that?
White rice. For carbs, white rice, or maybe sweet potatoes or white potatoes if you tolerate either of those. Sweet potatoes are high in the same stuff that kale is high in oxalic acid, but you can handle a certain amount of it. But if you're eating a kale smoothie, a big bowl of sweet potato fries, and then a big bowl of nuts, you've overwhelmed your body's ability to detoxify oxalate, and you're going to have sore joints. So you wake up, your knees hurt, your feet hurt, your hands hurt, or your kidneys hurt, or if you're a woman, your vulva hurt if you get vulvodynia from that.
It's interesting you say white rice
yeah.
because I think most people think brown rice is better for you than white rice, but that's not true.
Yeah,
I guess.
there's an absolute conspiracy to
There's a white
convince
rice.
us.
Well, against white food in general.
Well, they're trying to convince us to eat peasant food. Like gruel is what you fed people who didn't have a choice about what to eat,
Mm-hmm.
and that's oatmeal. Like literally,
Yeah.
that's the lowest quality food that you feed people in prisons or people who are enslaved against their will, because that's
Right.
not what people eat when they have a choice about it. And when farmers had to eat it to stay alive in midwinter, at least they had a huge amount of butter they would put on it so it was tolerable, and they probably ate it with some bacon. Right? So it's just like it's a filler food, but it's not a main course, and it's not healthy by a long shot. So brown rice, every rice eating culture on the planet knows that if you can afford to, you polish the rice, and only the very poorest people eat the brown rice, and it gives you an upset stomach and gas. But some American in the 70s is like, but fiber. Well, okay, 80 times more arsenic in the outer layer of brown rice, along with the fiber. You also get lectins, which cause inflammation in different people in different ways, and you get phytic acid in it. So brown rice is not healthier. It's just not. That's why you polish off the toxic parts and you use the inner part to get calories for energy, but not to get nutrients, because the outer part of the brown rice isn't very nutrient rich anyway. Nutrients come from liver, oysters, animals, and herbs and spices. They do not come meaningfully from brown rice.
Oysters and mussels are okay in your book, right? As long as they're
yeah, they're good for you. And I mean, I don't like liver. Liver's gross. I take pills of liver. I have for 15 years. They're just a great, convenient multivitamin. And historically, this is what we've done as a way of getting it. It's sea salt, herbs, spices, and organ meats are Mother Nature's original multivitamins. And the original trading routes across the planet were to trade salt and herbs and tea. Right? Because they're important for us biologically. That's how we get our trace minerals. Now, though, you can get your trace minerals in a pill. You can get them in your coffee, in Danger Coffee. You can get your minerals, your big macro minerals and other pills. You don't necessarily have to have them via those ways, but I think there's still a case for it. But
Okay.
the idea that you're going to eat brown rice that pulls minerals out of your body and somehow it's healthy because fiber, it's laughable. It's not how it works. So what I want you to do when you look at Smarter Not Harder is say, okay, I'm going to do some of the nutritional stuff. There's only 2 chapters in there about what the foods are holding you back on. So maybe you consider that, because if you're like I was, it didn't matter how much I went to the gym. If I didn't eat the right stuff so my body could transform itself, I could not get results from the gym. What I needed was to exercise less, and I needed to eat a lot more protein and a lot more minerals so that my body would have what it needed to build muscle and to recover. So if you're assuming that you're going to hire a trainer to come to your house 3 times a week to get in shape, you get in shape with your plate. You can have abs without ever working out at all. That's your plate. And if you want to have muscle definition, that's exercise. But 90% of how you look is just what you eat.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Fitness, but let's talk about fitness. Let's move on here, because you do talk in your book about many different techniques. What did you learn hacking your own fitness routine?
Well, what I learned was that I was wasting a lot of time. I bought all of this gear about 8 years ago and opened that facility under Arnold's office. And Upgrade Labs gave me the ability to put a signal into my body. And what I learned was that your meat operating system responds to a signal that's different than what we think. We believe that more work and more struggling equals more results. But there's no evidence to support that. That's just like a belief we have that's probably put in us by a PE coach or a church or a boss or a parent.
Well, I'm relieved to hear that, because I certainly believe that. Yes. Okay.
I mean, well, it's not. Have you ever seen the study on that?
I'm not the right person to ask, but yeah, I guess I've assumed a lot that the harder, harder equals bigger or whatever,
Yeah, harder equals bigger, longer equals bigger. And it's like, if I just like muscle through it, as a matter of fact, doing a marathon is not enough. Keep in mind, the first guy to run a marathon died. That's why we celebrate him to be healthy. But no, that's not enough. I do an ultra marathon. Like, I'm going to do 100 miles, brother. I've not done either one. I've done, endurance cycling, but
it's interesting. I mean, well, look at Arnold. I mean, look, he had an office above you. I mean, my father was involved in that documentary a long time ago, Pumping Iron, which, was sort of the original bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen the movie or know about the
movie.
movie.
Yeah. I have huge respect for bodybuilders. They're some of the original biohackers. They were taking control of their biology to look a certain way. And there were some of the masters. Those and the anti-aging people, I'm looking for radical longevity, are 2 of the biggest influencers of the biohacking movement, along with special forces operators and people like that.
But I guess my point is that they seem to lift more and more, and repetitions, and then they had those bodies. Not that people want those bodies anymore, but definitely saw results as a result.
They totally saw results. And I'm not saying that you don't get results. Even me, I could max out all but 2 of the machines at the gym when I weighed 300 pounds. And all of those bodybuilders will tell you, oh, I'm in my bulking phase. And Arnold will do it too. So during certain part of the season, he's just eating all kinds of crap, and then exercising a certain amount, but putting on a ton of fat while building muscle, and then they would get rid of the fat to look that way for a brief period and then do it again, and do that over time. So what I'm proposing here is that you can get those results in a lot less time. If your goal of the 5 goals in Smarter Not Harder, if your goal is muscles, I talk about all the ways to get a signal into your body to make it transform faster than picking up rocks, which is what, very respectfully to Arnold and Frank Zane, who I've interviewed on my show, Mr. Olympia, this is a huge amount of effort and work, and it's an art and a science, and just full respect. They are picking up rocks concentrated into iron plates, and they're trying to figure out how to do it most effectively based on the assumption that more is better. And they started asking recently, well, how little can I do? And like, what's the actual best? For the rest of us who don't want to look like that, because that's not our goal, is we wanted enough muscle mass. There's only a couple muscles you really need to exercise. You get your chest, right? You get your lats down here. And I don't know, I'm probably on a dark camera. I have all of those. And then you do your quads and your glutes. And if you get those done, you're in better shape metabolically than almost everyone, and you look good. And maybe you'll also want to like do your tricep or something, and you can do all sorts of little like curl things and get this little muscle here big.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all good if that's your goal. But what I'm suggesting is most people here, if you do the basic stuff in Smarter Not Harder, you can put muscle on 3 to 5 times faster than you can from lifting weights. Because you can stress your body's operating system in a way it's not expecting, and then you recover very quickly. And for cardio, it's even better, 12 times better results.
To do the high, what you call the HIIT, right? The high interval.
No, everyone's heard of HIIT. I read about HIIT 10 years ago. And even in the Bulletproof diet, I wrote about that. This is something new. And it's based on slope of the curve biology, where we believe without any evidence that working out more and harder and longer gives us better results. The reality is what gives us the best results in almost every system that I can find in the body is to turn on a stress very quickly, almost to the point the body can't handle it anymore. It's called disequilibrium. And then to very, very quickly return to baseline, and just do it once or maybe twice. And when you do that, the body says, oh, a tiger was chasing me, or the equivalent of a tiger on your bicep, right? But then I got away and I had enough protein and enough minerals. So now that I got away, I'm safe because my heart rate is down. Let me just build capacity really quickly. And if instead you say, well, I lifted to the point of failure, and then I waited a little while, then I did it again, and then I did it again, because I'm going to just wear this muscle, I'm going to teach it a lesson, right? Which is kind of a perspective on things. Then the body says, well, the tiger came, I almost got away, but it's still hunting me. And it's been hunting me for the last 45 minutes of this workout, because the body's dumb. It doesn't understand you're at the gym. And even if you have enough protein and minerals present, which many of us don't, at the end of that, it says, I'm just too burned out to build back up. So it might take you 2 or 3 days before you should lift again. Now, that works. You can get strong that way. I did get strong that way. Many people do this, and there's nothing wrong with it. What I'm saying, though, is if you could get a signal into the body in 1 minute that caused it to just grow, you would be better off.
So really, honestly, if we got on the treadmill or a Peloton and did like a high intensity 10, like a intensity at a 10 level, let's say between 1 through 10 for a minute, and then kind of chilled and did that like one time, that's almost really all you need that day. That's more like a high intensity interval training. Let me explain what ReHIT is. So this is something we're doing at Upgrade Labs with an AI driven bicycle. It's very hard to do this on a treadmill. In fact, you can't do it on a treadmill. You can do it at the park, or you could maybe do it on an exercise bike, but not on a treadmill, because a treadmill can't go from 0 to essentially as fast as you could possibly sprint instantly. And that's what you have to be able to do here. So if you're not doing the AI driven thing, here's what it looks like in a park. And by the way, you're probably going to want to get Smarter Not Harder, because I walk you through the why and the how in more detail. But you go to the park and you pretend like you've eaten 2 or 3 THC gummies. You walk really slowly, like looking at the ground, deep breaths, bored, like really not stimulated. And then with no warning whatsoever, you sprint. And at Labs, we do it for a 10-second sprint, because that's all you really need when I can fight you with the bike, but you can't really do that. So it might be 30 seconds. Most people can't run like a tiger is going to chase you for 30 seconds. It might just be 20 seconds, but you run literally like you're going to die. Okay. Now the body goes, holy crap, that was a tiger. You've got the signal in. The body says, I can't run anymore. Now, what you would normally do with high intensity interval training is you'd like walk for a little while, then you do it again, walk and do it again. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to stop. You're going to drop on your back. And you're going to take deep breaths, and you're going to, as quickly as you can, and let's slow yourself down. And the body's going to get the, oh, I'm safe now signal. And you're going to do that twice. Now, the problem is someone's going to try and give you mouth to mouth at a park if you do that. Or they're going to arrest you.
Yeah. I mean, but it looks pretty weird. Right? So maybe you do it at a track. You go to the bench and lay down. But the deal is you have to really quickly turn it on and really quickly turn it off. It's the turning it off quickly and just telling your body you're safe. That's what causes it to change. Now you could say, Dave, this is stupid. Let me tell you the data behind this. 2 studies and more being done now at the University of Colorado. And I've interviewed the researcher doing the work. If you do this for 5 minutes 3 times a week, and of the 5 minutes, there's only 20 seconds of hard work. So literally, most of it's just walking like you're on gummies. But of course, we're doing it at Upgrade Labs. You're on an AI powered bike that makes it easier. But still, you're 5 minutes with 20 seconds of discomfort. So 15 minutes a week. You compare that to doing an hour of cardio, like in a normal spin class, 5 days a week. Okay, so that's the case of I'm going to just like work it out. Imagine this, you do this for 2 months straight. So now you've spent over 2 months, call it 4 weeks, 20 hours plus showers and getting dressed and driving to the gym and all that. 20 hours doing uncomfortable stuff, listening to an instructor yell at you. Or you've done 15 minutes a week for 8 weeks, which is 2 hours. Well, you get a 12% improvement in VO2 max from the 5-minute program, and you get a 2% improvement from the 20-hour program. It's that big of 6 times more results. A 12% improvement in VO2 max is very hard to do, and it's correlated with living 2 years longer. So my pitch is this: come into Upgrade Labs, do that in 5 minutes, 3 times a week. And in the other time while you're there, did you want to hack your brain? Did you want to change your stress response? Did you want to put on some muscle? Like, what was your goal? How do we help you get to that goal in the other 5 minutes you're willing to spend with me before you go and do something else that matters to you? And that's why you got to own and upgradelabs.com. You can open one in your city. And I'm opening dozens of these across the US right now with franchisees. Like, this is going to be something that we all do because it's worth it.
I see there's one in Beverly Hills. I'm all over it.
Yep.
Is that the only one in California?
No, there's 2. There's one in the Beverly Hilton, which is my favorite hotel there. It's where I always stay.
Yeah.
And there is one in Santa Monica, right on the border of Venice.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to let you go soon. There's so much in your book, and I just want to talk about the last thing I just wanted, because you mentioned sleep, the whole chapter on sleep. What can we say about sleep? What can we leave with our listeners here, aside from buying your book and finding out how to sleep smarter? What is give me what you've learned about sleep over the years.
As an entrepreneur, I hated sleep. It was always such a waste of time. And when I was developing the Bulletproof diet, I actually went down to 4 hours of sleep. And when I started the Bulletproof company, I was working as a VP full time and started a $100 million company in my spare time at night with a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old at home. So you don't have to sleep, but that was bad for me. What you can do, though, is you can get more sleep in less time and good quality sleep. The people who live the longest sleep 6.5 hours a night, not 8 hours a night. It turns out oversleeping is correlated with dying more from all causes. I'm not saying sleeping less makes you live longer. I'm saying being so healthy that your body needs less sleep is the trick. So have your minerals, have your cardiovascular performance, have your energy systems working, and you'll go to bed and you'll fall asleep quickly. You'll feel really good. And if you don't want to buy Smarter Not Harder, that's okay. I respect that. You could go to sleepwithdave.com and I'll tell you everything I know about sleep for free. Yes, that's the best URL of my life. Sleepwithdave.com.
Sleepwithdave.com. You didn't have to buy that one. Was that one available?
No. Apparently no one wants to do it.
Nobody wants to do it. Sleepwithdave.com could also be, yeah. All right, Dave, this has been fascinating. The book is called Smarter Not Harder: The Biohacker's Guide to Getting the Body and Mind You Want. This is a man who's clearly done his research on his own body, so you didn't have to, right? Dave, best of luck with everything. I'm going to be visiting Upgrade Lab soon because I want to try one of these AI fitness machines. I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, you'll love it. We can AI your muscles, we can AI your cardio, and soon we'll be actually in those locations. We'll be doing AI for your brain.
All right, my brain could use a little AI. All right, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for doing the show.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks, Dave. That was great. Take care.
You're so welcome.
All right. Awesome. Great to meet you, man.
Great to meet you. Bye.